And of course, I'm Courtney Torres. I'm the Special Programs Coordinator for Innovation and Commercialization. We also manage EpICMavs. Tech Fort Worth is our programming partner for EpICMavs. Hayden Blackburn is the Executive Director of Tech Fort Worth. I know Luis met him during our summer deep dive, but he will be in our meetings periodically. So I will turn the table over to you, Hayden.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. Pleasure to be here and see some familiar names. Matt, it's been a while since I think we got a chance to connect, so great to see you.
It has been a while. It's nice to see you again, too. Again, I'll be seeing a lot of you, I think, in the near future.
Excellent.
Or at least through this.
Through virtual platforms, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I get the pleasure of talking about the entrepreneurial mindset, and I've got some tips to explore. And I'm hoping that since we got such a kind of group here, that we can have some dialogue around each of these things and maybe how it translates into your venture or what you are looking at. I know all of us have the entrepreneurial mindset in really DNA, so that doesn't go away. It just continues to grow and grow throughout your life, and you continue to create. So I'll pull up my slides. Got that up. Don't use Teams as much, so I'm going to get you all centralized up at the top. So yeah. Pause, chat. I do not feel any offense to being interrupted because we are in a digital world and it's not always as easy as just like raising your hand and being able to be seen. So these actually come from an article I wrote about 4 years ago, and it's kind of just started to evolve from there. And I've got a fun, or I think it's a fun kind of icebreaker throughout this, but we got a couple of would you rather scenarios that we'll work through as well. And so you'll get to unmute and do some voting. But we'll first, I mean, as an entrepreneur, everybody knows kind of the whole feeling of jumping off the cliff, taking that leap, building the plane on the way down. And it's kind of the starting point for everybody is just taking action. I've decided on something. There's so many people that I've heard from, and imagine we all have heard from. They'll see an ad or a commercial or anything about a product in the news and they go, oh, I had that idea 3 years ago. And the only thing that really was different between that company that really launched it and the person that had the idea was just taking that action and taking the leap. But entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. There's no straight line path. It is loops. It is going down into valleys and coming back up and having highs and lows in the same day. So mindset really matters in being able to weather all those storms and having that drive and will and determination to create value and solve problems in the real world. So as I mentioned, would you rather? This is a simple structure. What we'll do is I'll present 2 scenarios. You'll place a vote for the one that you want to vote for and feel that best represents you today. Then we'll open up the floor for some dialogue to share why you voted that way, why you think others should kind of look that way. Your task is to convert the others in the room to maybe reconsider their vote and shift as we do a second round of voting. We'll tally those up and we'll see where we sit as a group. So any questions on that? All good? So putting your mind into you're launching a business, you're running your business. Would you rather have a pause button or a rewind button for that business? Pause or rewind? We'll place a vote and then we'll open up for dialogue. Now, because I am not super advanced at Teams, I can't always see everybody. So what I will do is end share and then reshare it again. So pause or rewind. If you are pause, raise your hand or put it into the chat. So Matt's got to pause.
Patrick has his hand up.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. And rewind.
Luis is a pause.
We got 3 against 1. Courtney, did you place a vote? Are you a pause or rewind? You played this one before.
I voted for pause.
Perfect. Excellent. So we have got 4 on 1 on the pause and the rewind. So let's open up the floor to the pauses first. Why pause instead of rewind?
I'll start. Patrick, I'm sorry you guys can't see me on camera. My camera's being used by another system. I chose pause because pause means that I'm still strategically looking in the direction that I intended to go, that my intention hadn't really changed, but I may have paused for a moment to make whatever necessary adjustments that I need to make in order to continue serving my target market, my customers, my clients, whatever name it is that you like to use. I've taken a pause to readjust to them rather than rewinding. For me, rewind kind of means, for me, it means starting from scratch or starting over. And as an entrepreneur, I don't know that I'm as excited about starting over as much as I am about shifting according to the whatever's in front of me.
Other thoughts from the pause?
I'm kind of with Patrick. You know, I think, hey, we learn from our past mistakes, but no need to go backwards. Maybe you have to pause for a bit and readjust, like Patrick said. So I'm with him on that.
Okay, let's hear it from the rewind.
Mostly I was just feeling contrary, and I just was like, fine, I'll pick the other one. But I don't know, like if I still have the knowledge that I got, I mean, like I'm thinking of this from like a sci-fi level, like if I still kept the knowledge that I attained during that period and then got to rewind and apply that knowledge at the beginning instead of having to pause, I would rather that. Also, I'm a video gamer and I like restart missions all the time. Like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to restart this mission. And then lastly, I feel like pausing is something you can do like in real life. Like you can pause, like people do it all the time. Whereas rewind isn't something that's that we know is physically possible. So sure.
Sarah, I like your comment on the rewind, especially when you use the gamer example. I think the only difference for me is when I think of a gamer, I think more of restart than I think rewind. And although it may come out as semantics, for me, there is a difference between restarting and rewinding, because rewinding almost says, I'm going to play the same thing, right? When you're probably too young to be familiar with cassette tapes or anything of that nature. But when we rewind the cassette tape, we take it back to the beginning and we play the same thing over. So when I heard the word rewind, I thought about going back to the beginning and doing the same thing. If it had said restart, I might have had a different answer. I'm not real sure yet. But if it had said restart, I might have had a different answer, because I'm okay with starting over. I'm not okay with rewinding and redoing the same thing that I just did.
Yeah, Patrick, it makes me think of like interviews with entrepreneurs that have hit big and done well, and they go, oh, would you go back and do it again? That's more of like a restart type of question of just kind of reliving all of that. But Sarah, you bring a good point of like, if I retain the knowledge, I'd be interested in rewinding. If not, there's not much attraction to rewinding and just redoing it.
But I go by Sarah Jane or SJ. I'll put it in the chat.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's no way to know that from just the name on my thing, because I don't have a way to change that. So
apologies.
Okay, bye.
Well, Luis.
Yeah, I was listening to all your opinions, all of them very interesting. And I think that I would do a combination of both, because I would take a pause to evaluate what was my position right now. And based on that evaluation, I would decide either to restart, to look for another line of business, or to keep the effort ongoing.
in true entrepreneurial fashion, he chose a different path than what was presented. The mindset alive and living right there. Okay, so re-voting. Who would vote pause? And do we have any on rewind? So it looks like we've got pause winning, or did Luis's come up afterwards?
I think I already clicked on pause. Yeah.
I was trying to look at the timing of it, if it was, they always hang there, and then, okay, perfect. I'll dive back in. So we're definitely a pause. We're not going to be Groundhog Day, stuck in a time loop. Going to rewind all the time. But it really gets me thinking of just like that life team learner. All of y'all we're both looking at, everybody looking at, no matter what, you were looking at what information am I gathering? How can I make a better decision? So this is such a key point to all entrepreneurs, is just they're lifetime learners, limitless but guided thirst for knowledge. Always hungry to find something new and dive into that, because the dots that can be connected. I see entrepreneurs and myself of disparate dots that can be connected from different industries and different areas, that no matter whatever work that I do, there's something I can learn from somewhere else that can apply to what I'm doing. And there's this value in kind of going back to that pause, that stepping away from your day-to-day and getting some distance from that actually allows some increased opportunity for those dots to be connected kind of at the subconscious level, and kind of allow creativity to happen while you're not in the thick of it, but you remove yourself for a moment, go for a walk, and then those aha moments, giving yourself some time to breathe. So always thinking of, what can I learn? What am I learning? What can I apply? How do I share that knowledge? Not just that I've read it, but I've communicated it to others. Helps me, I know, to retain it in a stronger degree. And this is another piece that I really hone in on and look for in entrepreneurs, is maturity. And this is not anything to do with age. It's this openness to hear other opinions, but it's kind of this advanced state of kind of your mental and emotional development. Emotional intelligence is like a muscle. It's something that can be worked on and advanced and kind of broken down on areas that you want to kind of really strengthen. And I had our team go through the whole EQ 2.0 kind of assessments to look at emotional intelligence, where are growth areas, and kind of fine tuning that. But the maturity of an entrepreneur is, to me, is just really that openness and receptiveness to hear from others and synthesize that into how they would interpret it and use that, not completely adapting to whatever others are thinking or saying, but synthesizing that into their own thesis and beliefs and actions as an entrepreneur. And it's a lot of mental maturity to kind of do that and not put up defensive walls. If you've ever seen somebody do the pitch and then get into the Q&A, and they start to kind of put up that wall when feeling challenged, that can just, it's like a virus. It can just spread throughout all of the Q&A and feel threatened on all of those things. And so having that strengthened kind of mental and emotional state can really help in those challenging moments that we think we're really at a threatened position or risky position as far as increased competition in the marketplace or external threats to the business and to the opportunity. Along the other lines of kind of in the thinking, in the mentality of the big picture. I coach entrepreneurs and myself to kind of always get out of the minutia every day and get into a rhythm of trying to strive to get out of that minutia every day for at least some point of time. It requires me to protect time on my calendar so I know, okay, this is my big picture time. I am thinking strategic. I'm going to reduce distractions and pull myself out to the 30,000 foot view that I can look at those big pictures. I can look at new dots and new pathways, and I'm not just in the doing. Many entrepreneurs, we have to do both. We have to ebb and flow between those things. And what I experienced as just as of last year, I got really good at bouncing from topic to topic and project and program to program, but I lost this skill of doing it longer than maybe an hour. When I look back at like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I could probably do a 3-hour sprint of big picture thinking, all collectively with reduced distractions. So I'm rebuilding that skill set back up to get that extended, and finding more time on my calendar to really exercise that, and then reducing distractions and moving cell phones 20 feet away or in a different room so I can be disciplined on that, and just redevelop that skill set, because I lost it. Now on the kind of community, and this helps the mindset as well, is just not going alone. Build community. Have mentors. Even the solo entrepreneur can have a mentor that can help them poke holes and find blind spots in their opportunity, what they're working on. Those that have been there and done that, helping some guidance and just helping challenge and share some love and give time for that development. I'm a big fan of advisory boards and having kind of those skill sets added into a venture, and it kind of de-risked it for myself and for others that are evaluating the venture, but gives it into a position that is non-governing. Now, board of directors is definitely useful within that, but building a support of peers as well, those entrepreneur to entrepreneur, that's something that many of my team members here at TechFW really love to do. They feel so fulfilled of just getting two people connected that didn't know each other and having that value created because of this whole thing. They don't have to go alone. Nobody has to be the lone wolf, and everybody needs at least some vendors to help us, because I know I've got team members that help me on my finances. I don't want to be in those every day. I'd rather have those that love to do that and can do it twice as fast as me on the team and involved on that. Okay, so I've got another would you rather scenario. This one is more of who would you rather be, and we'll take a vote. Discussion, you can ask any probing questions or clarifying questions on that. So would you rather be, now these are kind of, I think, of very opposite as far as their kind of thesis as business and entrepreneurs, is would you rather be Warren Buffett or Elon Musk? And I'll clarify that, that's Warren Buffett or Elon Musk today. Let me pull off screen share. Okay, Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, two wildly different profiled entrepreneurs and business owners. Okay, let's see, raise of hands. Who would go with Warren Buffett? And who would go Elon Musk? Okay, we got a good split here. Let's hear it from our Elon Musk.
So Hayden, the only reason I chose Elon Musk is because he's so much younger than Warren Buffett, and I'm being serious. I like Warren Buffett. I like his philosophy. I like his longevity and the fact that he's been able to stay in the game and play the long game. But he's up in age right now, and I don't want to be him. I'd rather be Elon Musk, where I'm still young, and for all intents and purpose, I still got a lot of life in front of me and so forth. Now, that doesn't mean that age is the only thing that takes us out of this world. But in terms of life expectancies, Warren Buffett is getting towards the end of life expectancy, and Elon Musk hadn't got anywhere close to what we call life expectancy right now. And so I would rather be Elon Musk and have all that life expectancy still in front of me.
I didn't think about the life expectancy thing, but if I could rewind 20 years ago, I'd pick Warren Buffett, certainly, right? Yep. I think everybody would. But thinking about what Elon wants to do, especially with all the electric batteries and such, I had to go with Elon and him looking at the future, and everybody's going and looking for an oil-free world. So that's why I went with him.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with your vision and Elon Musk vision too. I like his futuristic way to approach current issues. The open mind that he has to propose different solutions to different kinds of problems. So from an entrepreneurial point of view, that's the way I would like to be open to ideas, even though I might lose money, but nevertheless, the ideas are important. You just take a look at Steve Jobs, for instance.
Yeah. Okay, so Courtney and Sarah Jane voted Warren Buffett. Thoughts?
I'll jump in. Just yeah, I don't have an entrepreneurial background, so I just appreciate his more like balanced, sort of more steadied approach to entrepreneurship. But maybe that's why. So, but I do appreciate what y'all were saying about the ideation and things like that. Like that's valuable. Not that Warren didn't have that too, but not to the level of Elon, probably.
So if I can jump in with you there, Sarah Jane, give you another reason why I chose Elon Musk versus Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has played the long game, and he played it in a time where changes came so much slower, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about when he started his path, he's had time on his side to build his wealth and follow his path along the way. But change comes so rapidly today. I mean, so rapidly today. Warren Buffett has time on his side, and that's what allowed him to stay in the position that he's in. But I don't know that his ways, his philosophy, and even his investment strategy would really work in this time. As fast as things change nowadays. I mean, things are just changing so rapidly. I don't know that if he didn't have time on his side, would his ways still work when, you know, you could wake up tomorrow and everything's different, and now you got to go a whole new different direction, versus Warren Buffett was in a long game where he said it was a buy and hold game. That was his strategy from the very beginning, not just investment, but that was his philosophy on life. You know, his philosophy on life was you find something that works for you and you just stick with it. Well, what if tomorrow that whole thing changes, right? Are you fluid enough and flexible enough to make that shift? So that was the other reason why I stayed with Elon Musk versus Warren Buffett.
It's a kind of adaptability. Because yeah, Warren Buffett, I mean, he still has the same talent.
I think Elon Musk is such a wild card. Like, he's so risky and just like, fine, forget California, I'm going to Texas, I'm going to move everyone just because I want to do this, or I'm going to name my baby some crazy letters. Like, he is so entertaining and so great for pop culture in this time in our era and just moving quickly, but he's such a huge risk taker. And I don't know if I were to be an entrepreneur, if I would be willing to take as many risks as he does. That's my thought.
It's like rapid fire risks.
Yes.
Let me give you his billions of dollars and see if you still feel that way. Because when I think about that, I think, you know, 1 billion is 999,999. Wait a minute, 999,999,999 plus 1. That's huge. And when you take that number and multiply it times the number of millions, taking risk, I mean, that's like you and I tossing out a quarter somewhere, right? Would you take a risk with a quarter? When he's got those billions, the risk that he's taking, he could lose millions, but that million for him, that 1 million, that's like you and I losing a quarter, right? So is he really taking risk, relative risk compared to the relative wealth that he has?
Well, I could say that there probably was lower risk in trying to sell flamethrowers. You know somebody's going to buy the flamethrowers. Like, it's just too hard to pass up whenever he started launching with that. That just got him into the boring company, and kind of pushed that forward. And so just some clever moves for sure. Okay, let's see if anybody has changed their vote. Show of hands, who would vote for Buffett? Staying strong. And Musk. Nice. I was like when nobody shifts either. It's like, nope, I'm sticking with it. It's all good. So actually this one, I mean, probably good for both of them, but definitely for Warren Buffett, it's just validating everything. If it feels like an assumption, it is. We talk a lot about this in the day-to-day here at Tech Fort Worth, and especially for those at the earliest stages of launching, is like, write down and name it an assumption. Go, I assume this, and I'm going to find pathways to validate that, whether that's through research, interview, observation, any methodology to kind of look at finding proof behind those, because first test will be sharing it with anybody on the outside world. They'll question it. So give yourself that validation that you know it's true, and that confidence that once they do start to question it, you're like, no, I know this is true, and I'm going to be moving forward with this, and I'm going to continue to look at this to know if it does evolve and change, and so I need to adapt. I like that Patrick kind of brought that up, that kind of being able to move in new directions and not too tied down into one playbook or pathway to be able to move, because if you sit still, everything that you thought was validated is no longer, and you've got to keep moving. And so just that lifetime learner type of thing, be hungry to learn more, especially from customers. Because listening to those customers and absorbing as much information as possible, less about talking, but those potential, those current, those former customers. Really, you can learn a whole lot by a customer that said no, had started to say no to you and left, than those that stay with you and love you. There's a book called Hug Your Haters. And the whole premise from the writer is just like, I want to hear from the people that write bad reviews so much more than I hear than the people that say good. It makes me feel good to hear from them, but I don't actually learn maybe how to level up and improve those small details that can make a difference. In the book, he tells a story about I think it's a coffee shop, and the coffee shop new owner came in, talked to the team, and said, hey, we're going to create a box for feedback, and we just want negatives. Like, here's the negative feedback box. And the team was like, why do we want to do that? Why do we want to increase the amount of negative reviews that we get? Owner was like, well, she's like, I want to learn, and this is how we're going to really spot how we make this jump into a new level as far as the company and revenue. And they got them, and they went it for like a month, and they started going through it, and it was small stuff like, hey, your toilet paper flips the wrong way. You really need to flip it the other way. I'm not coming back here. And I don't think they said I'm not coming back here, but reconsider coming back here. And they made these small changes, and then the number of negative reviews just drastically decreased. So it was kind of this phase of really hugging those haters and listening to them, that the problems that you assume that they have aren't validated until you hear it from them, and then you find out a whole bunch of new stuff from them. And so listening to as much as possible will help advance, and being open and receptive to that kind of that maturity thing. So a lot of these kind of bleed into each other and allow that kind of entrepreneurial mindset to thrive in advance. But it's all about taking action. This issue with analysis paralysis, if anybody experiences that, or kind of procrastination of taking the action, I heard a recommended strategy just the other day from a professor, and she was talking about meeting with somebody from NASA, and they had shared that, I have a rule of a countdown of 5. If I know I need to do something and I'm feeling hesitant, I will do a verbal countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I act. I don't take any longer to take that action. And it's something that I've tried to kind of now introduce into my day. If I'm feeling like, I'm feeling a little hesitant to jump on that thing, I may jump onto something else. It's like, nope, stop, pause, count down, and then go ahead with it. So it's about momentum and keeping that momentum going forward. But that I also now firmly believe that pause, that kind of sitting, allowing your mind to be free and not as focused, can bring a lot of connections to lead to that action. But once the connection is made, really pushing that forward. But because you're taking action, you've got to delegate effectively. Handing it to the people that are smarter than you, just like not going alone, being able to delegate, being able to empower others and lead them is freeing for your mind and allowing them to take on more responsibility. The investment into a team member reaps its benefits because of the time and care that you give to them, because the potential that they have, the skills that they have are greater than yours in that area, and you're empowering and trusting them with that can really do well. I like this chart for kind of prioritizing. It's actually on my whiteboard behind me, and I constantly look at it, is prioritizing and saying, okay, on my action items, what is urgent and what is important? If it is both urgent and important, I will do it now. This needs to be top of the list action item for the day. If this is urgent but not important, I'm going to delegate it out. I've got team members that could do those urgent things, but are not necessarily the most important for the overall operations of the company. But if it's important and not urgent, I've got time to plan it. I don't have to feel bad of saying I've got to prioritize the urgent and plan the not urgent, and know the difference between those two so I can focus on what is most important and urgent. And then if it's neither of those, just drop it. Like, those are the things to be able to identify saying no to. I am I don't really know improv, but I definitely exercise yes and a lot. And so that one's a challenge for me to always go, okay, does this carry any importance to the overall goals and strategies? And is this actually urgent? Is it my fire or is it somebody else's fire? And I should drop it off of my list and maybe not even take any action, but probably finding a pathway to help support that as well. So just a quick, easy decision tree to kind of, once you know what your goals and objectives and kind of strategy is, you can kind of pinpoint those as an entrepreneur and founder. But measure what matters. This one is case by case. What is the most important things to your venture, to your action items and list that are the key performing indicators, those KPIs? There's a lot of data and metrics that could be looked at. Analytical minds, I lean towards the analytical, and we'll look at the data and want to take time with that data to uncover the kind of connection points or insights from that. But I also know that I can't look at all of them. I've got to prioritize and know what moves the needle on the goals that are shared. So pairing that with being able to say, okay, I'm going to do it now and I'm going to measure it this way. I'm going to plan it, and once I launch it, I'm going to measure it this way. Those two kind of go hand in hand and really kind of shaping the mind on a day-to-day operational standpoint as an entrepreneur. But always be increasing capacity. Plan to scale. There's been studies over the years that the companies that launch that are focused on going global from the very beginning have shown to scale faster than those that are focused on just smaller markets and just their local regional markets that they're in. And so that has shown just that desire to increase capacity and be in that place will reap those big rewards when you do it before it is even needed too. Having it to where you're anticipating growth and scaling, having that desire. There's this difference between entrepreneurs that want to launch a high growth company, kind of scaling very fast, rapid growth, lots of market expansion, motivated for that type of profile, to those that are motivated for a lifestyle venture, and a lifestyle venture providing great lifestyle for their family, for themselves, for their team members, value, but that it's a point that it gets to a point where it's like, hey, this is great, and I don't need to make this bigger. I'm happy with this. So there's different profiles, but both of those can increase the capacity for increased efficiencies and effectiveness within their ventures. And that comes with a mindset of always looking at those kind of opportunities like, okay, how do I improve? Even if it's not about scaling my operation as a lifestyle company, it's, well, maybe I want to reduce the amount of time that it takes me to actually do this. So now I have more work-life balance, that I'm not just working 24/7. Those people that want to be their own, that are motivated to be an entrepreneur, to launch a venture, to be their own boss. It's a lot of hours and time, blood, sweat, and tears to create those ventures. And so once you get to a point that you can build that capacity to be able to walk away, you know, you've got some increased capacity whenever you can walk away and actually take some vacation time away from the venture, and it continues to run, nothing falls apart. You've done a good job of allowing that and allowing yourself to kind of step away, to have that higher level time and free the mind from all the minutia. Within the team, as you grow a team, also it's about identifying these silos. Is there infighting or a deterrent to cross-departmental work? Are my team members actually working together whenever I'm not in the room or seeing that happen? And what are the ways that I'm validating that whenever I'm looking at running the team and the company, that I can't, as a leader, can't be in every conversation all the time? And so these silos, I had an interview with former Navy. He was a director of the United Way and American Red Cross. I asked him, I said, hey, what do you do about silos within your organization? He had a large organization. He goes, I blow them up. I have no interest in those silos existing. I need everybody working and talking together. And so whether it's a technical team or a sales or marketing profiled team member, having them talk together. One of my great favorite stories about like just the elimination of silos is the whole theory and not even theory, just like strategy of growth hacking. One of the best samples of growth hacking comes from Apple. The iPhone, when it was kind of first coming out, the engineers were developing the whole code and back end for the email system. And one engineer essentially had a marketing idea and said, I'm going to put sent from an iPhone right at the bottom of every email that's sent out. And the marketing and engineering departments came together and said, absolutely, let's keep this running. Let's move this, because everybody that sent that email was then promoting the company to anybody that was receiving it. So this marriage between the technical engineering and the marketing minds kind of coming together and allowing those things to exist and influence each other and kind of help that. Now every phone company or every platform is putting their phone name at the bottom of an email until you say otherwise, and edit that out. This one, become an idea machine, flex that muscle, just like advancing the emotional intelligence. Promote to yourself and promote to others to exercise that ability to generate a whole lot of ideas. It could be as simple as like, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes and write down every idea that I can have for flavors of ice cream. Maybe not even need 10 minutes, just like 2-3 minutes, just to see how many you come up with. There's some great stuff about like asking a child and an adult of how many things could you do with a paper clip, and just the sheer amount that a child can come up with is just incredible. And we as adults, we have to continue to exercise that we don't self-filter, that we continue just to put the craziest stuff down and kind of flex that, hone that muscle again as a child does. So this one is something I promote within our team as well. It's just like ideas are welcome, like connect those dots. Now we know we need to strip it back and say, okay, what are we focusing on that we don't get distracted? But it's like even a small team can have an R&D department that allows these ideas to be fleshed out and give a little bit of breathing room to them to vet and see if there's opportunities for it. At Amazon, they have a rule, or they did, I don't know if it still stands, that they say, okay, for every meeting that we have that's about brainstorming, they go in for like, ideas are welcome, but we know the ideal circumstances that we have only enough people in that meeting that could eat 2 large pizzas. If we have too much pizza, we had too few people in there to be able to really generate all the ideas that we wanted to. If we have too many people in there and we have not enough pizza, then we got too many people, and it may really negatively influence the amount of mental exploration from that group. And so they kind of found their sweet spot of 2 large pizzas. We only need enough people in the room that can eat all of that, and that will be our brainstorming team for that topic. And it's a anecdote from their operations, and I haven't tested it. Lots of pizza eaten, but not tested as far as what's the sweet spot of that and the variable nature of how much pizza one person can eat versus the other. Means you have to know your team members for sure. But the last one is really about building a self-care plan. And this goes beyond just like the mindset. This is really about kind of the lifestyle of an entrepreneur, that for all aspects of the life, sadly, there are mental health is a real, very real thing. And we're seeing that throughout every facet of life today in 2020. But it's always been the case. And so entrepreneurs take on a lot for themselves and for their families and loved ones, and those risks. It's a risk taker profile, but it's also an optimistic profile. It's people that are kind of masters of deception, that we think we have the optimism bias, that we will succeed when others would fail and not have the issues that others have, because we have all this determination in what we're doing. But health-wise, fitness, water, just kind of discipline within life. And it's something I promote with my team, with our clients and everything, is just know what you're going to do for your self-care. Know what it helps you to weather the storms and the challenges and the stress, and what a de-stress looks like. For me, it's running. I'm going to go run tonight. I've got a coaching session with a client here tonight before I leave, and the sun's come out and it's cooler weather, and I will go and clear my mind and listen to the outside and run for a couple miles, and that's my kind of release of all that energy. And then I feel fresh and anew, and then eating healthy and drinking water and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, the lifestyle of an entrepreneur is a roller coaster, like shared at the beginning. And the self-care is something to take very serious and always implement into the day. For me, I also do green tea, and it's my pause to sit there and reflect on when I'm working on something high level or very detailed, to just sit back and pause and go, okay, I'm looking at every angle on this. I'm not losing any spots, and I'm not beating myself up if I am losing in those spots or seeing those gaps. But we've got board members and mentors to help me spot those. So those are my tips around kind of the entrepreneurial mindset, how to advance it, things to kind of implement into a day-to-day kind of pathway as an entrepreneur. And even if you don't feel like you are advancing, it's taking that long-term view. I set an intention this year to kind of delegate more. And this was something actually, like my board member was like, okay, last December, they're like, okay, you've got to delegate more. You've got to empower your team. And I'm like, okay, this is a shared intention from my board and myself. But I got validation yesterday that a team member was like, hey, thank you for trusting me. I feel empowered. I was like, wow, excellent. Like I thought I was doing the right things starting January 1st, but it was awesome to get that validation in late September, this far into the year, going, okay, I've made some steps in that direction and growing my own mindset and what I'm practicing every day. So it was kind of fun. Well, thoughts, any tips that you have that you implement as an entrepreneur, or that you find yourself recommending to other entrepreneurs that you talk with throughout your life?
Meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also takes a lot of perseverance.
I'll say something about mentoring, except there's a echo. Somebody's not sure what it's from, but anyway, just finding that balance of like listening to their feedback, but like not to the point where you're like betraying like the core of what your venture. I was like literally just talking about this earlier today, actually. You when you get to the core of what you want to achieve with your idea or with the thing that you feel passionate about, and then you solicit feedback and suggestions or mentorship, you will get some differing opinions on how to proceed, and you just need to be able to weigh that against what's here in your core and not feel like don't betray that, basically. And you have, and I like say, like, you have permission to like not take their advice. Like, you have, even though they might be this like huge deal, VIP, like influential, because a lot of our mentors are like that, I'm sure, and everyone here is pretty great, and Hayden, I'm sure you would agree with your mentors, but you still have permission to say, you know what, I hear what you're saying, but deep down, like, really, I want to go this specific direction, and it's scary to do that, but you're allowed.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We do some training for the mentors that volunteer in our program, and I love it when the other mentors are like defining what mentorship is to them, and they're like, it's not saying a whole bunch of should-haves or you should. Like, that word should not come up as a mentor. It's like, it's not about telling anybody but how they should do it. It's supporting them on that journey and vision. And it's actually something that comes up with some of our members in Cowtown Angels. They tell each other, they go, if I'm sitting here thinking about that company doing it in a different way, or I envision it in some different way, I don't need to be investing in them. I need to invest in the companies that I believe in and believe in their journey and vision. And I get to support and fill in gaps, but I'm not trying to shape their journey or steer them in a different direction. That's a maturity of the mentor and the investor, and a maturity of the founder. So that's excellent.
And I think a really big thing is being adaptable and not taking things to heart. And that's why I love that we usually start EpICMavs for the beginning of the year or the beginning of the semester with an acting course or run through with the acting professor at UTA, because in acting there's so much rejection. And sometimes you could do perfect, get your lines great, do a really great scene, and they'll be like, nope, you're not tall and blonde. So maybe it's specifics that they are looking for that your company has nothing to do with, but you can't take it personally and get down on yourself and not keep your momentum going, because you're gonna face rejection and you have to learn how to manage that rejection.
Yeah.
Keep going.
It
I have
makes
to drop off. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Thank you,
Jane. Thank you.
Yeah, it makes me think of the Stanford Design School, or the D School. They have a key value is nothing is precious. Present something. Don't spend like 5 hours on something when you can spend 5 minutes and present it. You feel less guarded and protected about presenting something in its like infancy than something that you fleshed out so much further. So I've totally stolen that from the D School and said, yeah, nothing is precious. That's perfect advice for those that are creating and have a faith, because the idea grows whenever you share it.
Hey, I take a lot of stuff from the D School too. It's a great place to take stuff from.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
I like Tina Seelig and David Kelly. Pretty smart, interesting people.
Crazy intelligent. And it's just fun following them, and places like IDEO and all kinds of great stuff coming out of there. Any other tips? I like the one on perseverance. Gosh, what's the quote? It's like in the land of ideas, like it's about enthusiasm, but in the real world, it's really about like perseverance. I'll have to find that quote from Goethe. And really, I think I have it on a whiteboard somewhere in the building.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
tell
it's
my students.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is like running the marathon. You need to keep going, and sometimes you face a lot of challenges, but nevertheless, you still have to keep going, not only for yourself, but also for the people that are working with you.
Yeah.
I always tell my students that they got to think about the long game, kind of like the Warren Buffett game, right? Because if you're going to make it as an artist, you have to be prepared to, weather the storm for a while.
Yeah. Especially for artists. I mean, that's
right.
Such a long journey to get all of that exposure and awareness about you as an artist. It makes me think of I guess it's like the opening story in Think and Grow Rich, where he's telling the story of somebody that was drilling or digging for, I think it was gold. It may have been, I think maybe oil. So they were digging for oil. This person had put more money into the dig than they ever forecasted, like double the expense. And they just said, I can't pay more. We haven't found it. I'm giving up. I'm selling the rights. And he sold the rights to somebody that believed that oil was still there. They found out he dug 2 more feet and he hit the oil. Like one of the biggest pockets of oil reserve, like in the Western United States. And just that one more push. If you believed it, yeah.
It's like when you're working out. You
That's
start
right.
to feel that burn and you just got to get through it. Just push through it, keep going, and then you're golden. And the next time your longevity increases and you're going to get better.
Lactic acid.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I enjoy this topic. I mean, it's fun to think about. Hopefully it's something, you've got one thing that you can take away and say, I'm going to do that a little bit more, or exercise that in my life, and as an entrepreneur, or promote it to others, share it. Hey, here's some tips. Spread the word. Absolutely.
Thanks, Hayden. Thanks,
Thank
Courtney.
you.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be seeing you quite a bit.
Yes, and next week we'll be going over branding with Lauren from Tech Fort Worth. She's fairly new, so I'm excited to have her as a guest speaker. I haven't heard her present anything yet, so we are very excited about that. But please spread the word to your students. Let them know that we're here every Thursday. It is recorded, so I know a lot of students have actually emailed me asking if they can watch the videos. So we are getting people caught up, but I will reach out to you, Hayden, if anybody has questions. But yeah, spread the word. We'll be doing branding, and then we're going to go into time management the week after.
Great.
Nice.
Thanks again, guys. Have a great night.
All right,
Thank you.
enjoy your
Have a
night.
good evening. Bye.
Thanks, Hayden.
Absolutely. Do you want me to share the?
Thanks, Courtney.
You're welcome.
Do you want me to share the slides? I can send them to the email, or I don't know if I guess I'm in the EpICMavs Teams area too.
Yes, I think you might be able to